Hello, everyone. I'm not going to take up too much of Dr. Shelton's time, but I just want to say it's been and a little under 2 years ago, I was honored to be selected as the president of the school board for Edwardsville School District. And shortly thereafter, Dr. Shelton came aboard as our superintendent. And I just want to echo the sentiments of our school board and just say that he's done an amazing job in the last 2 years. There's been obviously a lot of tumultuous times that have occurred, and throughout all the noise that's happened, he's been laser focused on moving this school district forward. So I'm going to bring him up here today just to go over the bond proposal, which passed in the recent election, and just to give some updates on facility. So Dr. Shelton.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Here we go. Share screen. I'm going to share this one. Yep. And open that. There we go. Got it. I think so. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you. I will try to go through some things quickly because we have a lot to share about what's going on well in District 7. But I want to take you back to when John mentioned I came to the district, and the school board and I had a conversation about our strategic plan and thought it was time that we go back and do a really comprehensive look at the district and where we wanted the district to be from a long-term perspective. And that resulted in a new mission, vision, and value statement that you see up there. So our mission now is empowering each student to achieve personal success. And then we have vision and then core values that go along with that. As we adopted that new mission, vision, values, we also ended up with new goal areas. And so we have 5 goal areas in District 7 around instruction and student experiences, a thriving workforce, safe and supportive schools, family and community engagement, and efficient and effective operations. So those 5 goals then got us into action steps with those goals. And one of those action steps was to analyze our buildings, both from a programming and facility standpoint, but also just from an infrastructure standpoint. And as we did that, we partnered with a PR firm that works with schools to create the Engage District 7 process. And we launched that last fall with 4 community engagement events throughout the district in October, followed by 4 in November, where we asked people to come in and help us prioritize what they wanted to see in District 7 schools. So they came in, and we had about 250 people attend the events between the beginning of October and end of November. And they came and they ranked priorities, and then we presented information on our facilities and asked them to connect those priorities to then projects within the district. And so the building priority from a physical standpoint, were certainly safety and security was number 1 by far at each one of the events. So safety and security became our number 1 priority and focus as it relates to school facilities. And then it was building an envelope and building infrastructure. So everything that makes up the building, from mechanical, electrical, plumbing to the windows, the doors, and the physical campus that the building sits on. So once they gave us those priorities, we were then able to rank our projects, and we asked our community to help us do that with the priority for number 1 being the double entry at each of our schools. And I'll talk about each of these priorities or each of these projects as I go through them. The second one was a Lincoln Middle School renovation and rebuild, followed by Hamill Elementary renovation, remediation, and rebuild, Midway Elementary Schools repairs, expanding the commons at the high school, creating safe and accessible playgrounds, renovating the media centers, and then renovating the gymnasiums at Columbus, LeClaire, and Glen Carbon. So those were the top 8 priorities. And I'm going to jump in and just give you just a little bit of information on each one of those. As John mentioned, on April 4th, District 7 voters did approve the sale of up to $100 million in bonds. And that's the estimate that we have is a little bit more than that, but we're also factoring in a lot of escalation based on the amount of time it's going to take to complete the bond sales. So what we have done is we've gone into each of our project priorities and divided them into 2 different priority groups. So priority group number 1 are the first 5 projects that I mentioned earlier. And then we want to make sure we get through those first 5 before we move on to the next 3. And so I'll talk a little bit more about the first 5 and then just kind of skim over the last 3 because they're a little bit ways out. As I mentioned, the first project was to create a double entry security system at each of our buildings. Cassins, Goshen, Midway, Liberty, and Warden all already have a double entry system. So when you walk in the building, you walk in an exterior set of doors and you're in some type of vestibule with a security officer that allows you to then move forward. But what is different about the double entry system that we want to create is that vestibule is not always a locked vestibule. So many times that security officer is just really just giving you a free pass into another environment, whether it's the office or the commons. So we need to modify those double entry systems so that when you walk into that double entry, you're in a locked vestibule and the officer grants you access by unlocking a door, whether it's a door to the office or a door to the general population. And then we have a number of schools that are listed there on the right that do not have that double entry system. So Columbus, the high school, Glen Carbon, a variety of them listed that need some new construction in order to create that double entry system. So when we talk about a double entry system, this is kind of just a general template of what we're looking at. We're looking at someone going in an external entrance. You're there, you're greeted by one of our safety and security officers. We have 26 of them that work shifts from 6 to 6 at the elementary level and 7 to 5 at the secondary levels. And so they split shifts. They scan everybody with what we call the Raptor system. So when your driver's license goes in, it's running a quick scan to see if you're identified as someone that should not be in a school. And then they're able to then grant you access either to the office or to the common space. This is an example of what that's going to look like. This is LeClaire Elementary School, one of the buildings that will need construction. And a lot of our buildings that were built in the 50s and 60s were built with a double entry system in mind, but it was more of like an entryway where you might stack an umbrella. Okay, it's not really for somebody to have a desk in. And so we need to modify those systems. And so you can see on the drawing on the right, you'll see the red arrows, which would be doorways that would be locked, that could be opened by the security officer that would grant someone access to, if you're going to the right, you're going to the gymnasium. If you're going straight ahead, you're going to classrooms. And then you'll see a doorway there to the left. So that's the most common path, is if a parent's coming in to drop something off for their child or coming up to pick up their child, they're going to the left into the office. They're going to sign their child out, and then they'll be able to go back out of the double entry. The second project, and by far the largest project, was our Lincoln Middle School renovation and rebuild. Lincoln Middle School, as we started to look at Lincoln from a facility standpoint, was in severe need of 3 areas of work. Infrastructure, the oldest part of the building was built in 1925 as the second high school. And so there are certainly some infrastructure needs, envelope needs, but we also identified that there had been a water and sewer break underneath the gymnasium, which is actually the newest part of the building, built in the 70s. That sewer line, because the way they built Lincoln, everything's embedded in concrete. So all the wiring, all the plumbing, everything goes through the concrete, either floor or wall. And so to fix that, you have to jackhammer concrete. And this fix for that was going to be much more invasive than we were prepared to navigate with students in the building. One of the things that we spend a lot of time explaining is that anytime we do a project in a public school, we have 2 windows. We have 2 ways that we can do it. We have to do it in the summer, which limits us to about 90 days, or we have to find a different place for students wherever that construction is going to be. And in this case, it would have meant lots and lots of trailers, which would have done a lot of things, but not good for education. So we decided that tearing down the gymnasium would be the best approach to addressing that and building a new gymnasium somewhere else on the campus. The other angle with Lincoln, if you've been in Lincoln, there are lots of hidden hallways, stairwells, and corners that are not necessarily safe and secure. And so if we have the opportunity and we're going to be doing construction, we want to streamline that so that we have clear sight hallways, easy access for students, and certainly make the building accessible. The first part of Lincoln will be to tear down the northernmost section, and that's the section highlighted in red. That's also the section that's not used as much for classrooms right now. It's used for the district for facility storage, food service storage, technology, and things like that. So we're going to be able to accomplish the vast majority of new construction without any impact on students in the building. The impact will be on the outside of the building and some of the green space, some of the parking space, things like that. Once it's all said and done, we'll be able to keep the 1925 section and what we call the knuckle that kind of turns the corner there on West Street. And then we'll have a brand new gymnasium and main entry on the northern part of the building. And there's a rendering of that. So from a blueprint standpoint, we're able to take, with a lot of excavation, a lot of dirt moving, able to take that new construction and tie it into the existing floor levels so that there will be 3 levels to the new Lincoln: first floor, second floor, third floor. And we won't have any more of the floor and a half or the commons where you have to go up to go back down and then go back up again. So that's just an example of that blueprint. The next project was Midway Elementary, where we had some issues with water, both water retention, like too much of it, and water coming up through the floor that was making the glue seep up from the tiles. So in doing some boring and doing some engineering work, we discovered a couple different things. Number one, there was no vapor barrier that was put down on the flooring when the building was built years and years and years ago. And so one of the steps they will take is pull up the flooring, pull up everything that's attached, and put down a topical vapor barrier. There's also some retention and topographical drainage issues that they're trying to identify. And so right now they're going through and scoping a lot of the sewer lines and looking for the root of that problem. Hamill Elementary is a building that was built in the early 70s when they had a lot of energy issues. And so if you look at the gray area here, those are the pods at Hamill Elementary. Pods don't have windows and they had a lot of asbestos. Matter of fact, we just got the asbestos report back and I couldn't believe all the places where they hid asbestos in the pods. So those areas were certainly areas that need to be torn down and then rebuilt. And so you see here the gray area on the far left, those octagon shapes are what will be torn down, and they'll be replaced with a new wing and a new main entrance at Hamill that provides that double entry. So that new entry will be 6 classrooms, a new media center, new gymnasium that will be similar to the Goshen Gymnasium that elementary school has. The last priority project was expanding the commons at the high school. If you've been at the high school anytime in the last 15 or 20 years, you know it's a packed house anytime they have lunch at the commons. Not only is it for lunch purposes, but that's also the flow through area to get from the A side of the building to the CD side of the building. So anytime you're going from A to the other side, the commons is where everybody goes through, and it's quite a bottleneck during each passing period. The expanding of the commons will add 7,000 square feet to the commons, along with a satellite serving area, and just as importantly, another thoroughfare from one side of the building to the other. So we'll have another hallway that comes from the where the media center used to be into the commons, and then you'll be able to go to the other side of the building. There's the blueprints that you can see: the satellite serving area, the access, and the commons. So those are the first 5 priority projects. We anticipate that those should come in around $90 million, which leaves us the $10 million that we need for the remaining projects, which are the elementary school playgrounds. Currently, and I'm not even sure how long it's been there. It's been there since my kids were there. But pea gravel makes up our playgrounds. And if you've ever had a student's clothes that's attended elementary school go through your washing machine, you often get pea gravel in your washing machine as well. So this would include not only updating some much needed playground equipment, but pouring rubberized surfacing in all of our playgrounds so that all of our playgrounds are accessible and have the same level of safety. The second project, we're creating safe and accessible gymnasiums, and Columbus is really the target of this one, even though we are doing some expansion at LeClaire and Glen Carbon just to create a little more floor space. But at Columbus, the gymnasium is down in the basement and was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it's a brick gymnasium that still has supporting beams right in the middle of the floor of the gymnasium. So creating a new gymnasium on the back side of Columbus that will be connected through what they call an umbilical hallway, and that will allow it to be accessible for community events as well. And then the final project is upgrading and building a new media center at the high school. Columbus and Woodland would have refreshed and new media centers. The gymnasium at Columbus will become the media center, so it'll be a much more open space than what they have now. And then the new high school media center will mirror the expansion of the commons. And so it'll create a courtyard that students can go back and forth between the media center and the commons. Our timeline for each of these projects begins this summer, 2023, with Lincoln and Hamill. We actually expect to be doing some groundwork at Hamill over the summer. Lincoln's going to be a little bit more delayed. It'll probably be early fall by the time we get around to that. And the Lincoln project is going to be a 4-year project because we're going to have the 2 years of new construction followed by 2 years of renovation on the other end. So there'll be a little bit of movement for students as they're going from old classrooms to new classrooms. But at the end, the entire Lincoln campus will be brand new from an interior standpoint, new flooring, new lighting, new everything from an instructional standpoint. Hamel will be about a year project. You can see that Midway is a summer only project, as are the double entries. Sorry about that. As are the double entries for each of our buildings. Each of those will be a 2023, 2024, 2025 projects. Apparently I turned on. I don't know how I did that. Let's leave that. Playgrounds in 2026, Columbus 25, 26, and then the media center will be completed by 2028. So we have 5 years of a lot of facility work ahead of us. And I went through that really fast, but do I have a second for questions? Okay. Questions? Yes, sir.
Your $100 million bond issuance, is the funding on that to be staggered to correspond to when the projects are actually starting to be placed out? And what are the repayment terms under that? And finally, what are your revenue sources?
Sure. So I'm gonna go backwards with those. So the revenue source, this was a zero tax increase bond issue. So essentially bonds are coming up in payment. And so we have space to borrow more money at the same payment rate that we had before. So it's a no tax increase for our community. The bond terms are a 20-year bond for most of the bonds. They may be issued in separate segments. They also may be issued in one segment. They're working on that right now with our bond issuer. There's a thought from our bond issuer that by issuing a larger sum now, we're able to mitigate any of the interest costs, because short-term borrowing is so good right now that we could actually end up saving any interest costs that are going along with the bond. So we're actually working through that in the next 30 days or so. Did I get them all? I think I did. Yes, sir.
On the Midway, starting in summer 2023, be able to do that in 3 months?
We believe we will. Yes, we'll be able to do all the flooring in 3 months. The groundwork that might happen could start at the end of the school year, but that's just so we can have the ground ready to go in the fall when kids come back.
Is there any school that doesn't get anything?
Every school gets a little bit of something. Cassens, Goshen, Liberty, and Warden are our newest buildings. And so the double entry modification was really, and playgrounds. But they really didn't need a whole lot of anything significant related to the bond issue. All right, well, thank you very much. And I'm happy to come back and talk about strategic plan and programming some other time, because we have a lot of fun things going on there too.
And thank you for doing this on short notice.
Absolutely.
Nate has the 50-50. Next week, the program, Ellen has the program. Carolyn Kester has invocation. Greeters are Jennifer White and Dennis McCracken. And Dave Warner has 50-50. Reminder, there is a board meeting tonight at 7. One 454. 1454. Frank Phillips.
Yeah.